Alright, hi everybody. I think I'm streaming. Try to get this going. It says I'm streaming. So thanks for joining, and if you aren't joining the live session, that's totally okay. You should be able to watch it later. I've got 3 monitors, so I apologize if it looks like I've got a little bit of a squirrel moments going on. I'm trying to make sure that I capture everything. So my name is Shoshana Turner. I operate Glowforge laser machines, and I usually use Inkscape and GIMP for my software, both which are free. And today we're going to be showing a quick demonstration of how I go about laser engraving bamboo utensils. So I've got my bamboo utensils here that I'm going to engrave on. These have a really nice quality finish. I source them directly through a factory, and you can definitely contact me for more information. And there is, I've just been really impressed with the quality of this. I originally started sourcing them through a fundraiser that we did with the local school, and then that morphed into doing it with 2 different groups at 2 different schools. So it's a really great fundraiser. Bamboo is very ecologically sound. It grows really fast, it's hardy, it's antimicrobial, all kinds of stuff that go along with that. So with this, I want to show you, I have my digital calipers, and I'll turn them on, and I'm going to check the width and in inches, we're going to be using inches today, of my spoon here, or my utensil. I always call them spoons, and then they're not actually spoons. Only one of them is a spoon. So anyway, we have 0.851 or 0.852, just depending on how hard I squeeze it. So I'm just going to go with the 0.851 for the width of my utensil, and I'm going to double check these other ones here just to get a ballpark here. So we've got 0.79 and 0.81 and 0.93. So our flat spatula here is our widest, and I'm not really too concerned about the width. I'm just trying to get a ballpark figure. And you'll notice here that it's thicker as you come closer to the end of the handle, and it narrows. So I just want to kind of get an idea. So we're going to go ahead and just use the 0.85, and in Inkscape I'm going to draw a bounding box. So I'm going to go over to my left hand tools here and click on this box tool, and then I'm going to click a box and just kind of drag it over, and then I want to say how wide and how high it is. So how high it is going to be that 0.81 that we did, and then the length of it is just going to be, well, where do you want your engraving area to be? So I can say I don't want to engrave over the hole that's in the handle, but I do want, and I don't want to engrave down on the spoon. So when you're doing engraved spoons and when you're talking to your clients about these, bamboo is not dishwasher safe. We throw them in the dishwasher. That's the only way we clean. So we've had bamboo utensils that have been engraved and last for years. But when you're talking to your clients, make sure that you cover yourself and you say bamboo utensils are not dishwasher safe. They will warp, they will split, etc. They will peel. It is a natural grass. They're not wood. And so make sure that they take care of them. So you can also take care of them by oiling them regularly with mineral oil or butcher block oil or whatever. We have a bamboo countertop down in our basement apartment that we rent out, and I have to make sure that I'm treating it regularly with mineral oil. So you just apply it on and let it soak in, and then go back through and wipe it off. But with that though, any part that you're engraving, we want to make sure it has minimal food contact, and so I will only engrave on the handles. I don't ever engrave on the part that's going to go into contact with the food. And then you have to decide, do you want to engrave the back of the spoon or the front of the spoon utensil, or both. And so I'll give that option to my clients too. So I sell engraved utensils at $6 a piece. If it's one of my already built canned phrases, I've got, more than 60 at this point of different phrases that I offer, and in a certain font that I've already done. And I have a couple of fonts that I really enjoy using, and we'll show you those here in a minute. And then but if they want it personalized, like if they want their name on it or something, then that's $8. And if they want it double-sided with a phrase or personalization, then that's $12. So it just kind of varies as to the prices and stuff. And if you're doing a fundraiser versus just selling them, etc. Some little ones I'll do like little monograms, stuff like that. So as far as length goes, we have 5.6. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 5.6. And so I have this bounding box, and this is just for my benefit. When you're first starting out doing engraving on utensils, sometimes it can be helpful, so it helps you with lineup and stuff. And then you're able to better place where you're going to put it. Sorry, I work with wood all the time, which makes my nose run all the time also. So then we're going to do our font or our inscription or whatever we're going to do. Like I said, I've already got some prepared that I just have canned and I can just load in, but I'm going to show you how to create your own. So I use my text tool, and I'll just drag and drop a box here, and then we're just going to do Turner because that's my last name, and I'm going to grab this whole text. And one of the fonts that I really like using is called Easy November. It's a script font, and it's, you know, very flourishy, and because it is a script font, so if actually let's just lock it in place. We'll make it a little bit bigger here. You can see there isn't really a definite bottom or top to it. And you can see that this is cut off here, and I'll tell you here about that in a minute. But I'll just come over here and I'll place it. And I took into account that I don't want my hole to get engraved. So my hole is actually out here. And so I can take this and I can stick it all the way up. Or if I want it more at the base of the handle to the left, I can put it down there. So I'm just going to stick this on here and call that good. And then I'm going to do another one. So if I grab the box and I Control D for duplicate, it just duplicated that box, and I can pull it up. And then I can duplicate my text that I've already done and font that I've chosen and pull that up also. So again, a Control D. If I double click in that and I grab the whole text, then I can do another one. So I'm going to do actually one of the popular ones. I licked it, so it's mine. So this is a really long text, and we're just going to go ahead and fit it, go ahead and unlock it, into the middle. So I can grab it and grab the box simultaneously, and I can center it within. I don't really care too much though for what we're doing. So we have two different options here. I have 4 utensils that we're going to stick in. They're different kinds. These are all ones that I've decided are not good enough quality. They're my tester ones. They're not good enough quality for my clients. So I'm going to just save this to my desktop really quick. Utensil demo. And the next part of this is I always either make a copy and move it up above my frame, or I will duplicate the layer. And the reason that I'm doing that is because this text right now is just text. It's not vectored, so the laser can't read it. We have to turn it into a vector file so it knows when to start and stop where it's lasering. And so I make a copy of it because once I turn it into a vector, I can't tell what the font is. So later on down the road, if I'm like, oh shoot, what was that font that I used? I can go back to the file that I have and I can keep it. So I'm going to rename this one vectored. And I'm just right clicking on it, and I'm going to rename this one original. So I'm not going to touch original. I'm going to lock it away, and vectored is now the one that's on. I'm going to grab all of it and go to path, object to path. And if you have any questions, definitely please go ahead and comment in the live chat. I have it up as we're going along. So I turned it into a vector, and I can double check that by clicking on my node tool here, and I can hover over the top of it and see that. So if I back up, and I'm using my node tool, so I did Control-Z for backup. If I hover over it, there's no red, so it hasn't been vectored yet. So again, I grab it, and I can do redo, but object to path, that turned it into a vector, and now we can hover over it. One of the things though, if I zoom in here, you can see that these aren't actually together. And so if I flip over view to outline mode, I can also see that. So the next step that we have to do with scripted font or any font that's overlapping is we have to weld it together, or in Inkscape that's called union. And it won't let you union more than one set of fonts at a time. So I can't click this one and this one at the same time to do the command. I have to do it individually. So I'll go to that font, I'll do path, combine, path, union. And there it took and it welded all of my words together. And so then when the laser is reading it, it knows that it is all supposed to be connected. If I left it so it wasn't connected, the laser is going to turn itself on and off. So basically it's going to be traveling across doing its word. And this is Glowforge specific. I don't know actually how the other lasers will treat it, and I'm sure it's called something different in Lightburn and all of the other programs. But when the laser is traveling across it and it hits, it's basically a double negative, so it turns it positive. So it says, okay, I'm supposed to be engraving, that's my negative, and then it hits a positive space, and so it stops engraving, and then it keeps going and then turns it to being negative again. And so you'll have these gaps in your engrave of your words. And a lot of people consider that to be unprofessional in the graphic design world. I've done it intentionally a couple of times for some of the art that I've done, and then of course you get called out on it. So some of your clients will know the difference, and some don't care, and some are like, oh. So anyway, it's totally up to you. Apparently the dog that we have as a guest is letting me know something's going on outside, so I apologize. So I just did the welding together for Turner, and I licked it, so it's mine, and I saved it, and then I'm gonna open up Glowforge here. Not GoDaddy support. I have to call them a little bit later. Too many browsers open. Alright, where did my Glowforge window go? Ah. Here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and upload from the desktop here. I don't remember what I called it. Utensil demo. There it is. I definitely need to spend some time organizing my computer and my files, but okay. So we've loaded it into Glowforge. We've got two different designs here. It has these boxes around it, which is totally fine. I can move them around. One thing to note about Inkscape and the way Glowforge treats it, when you have a bounding box going around something, Glowforge thinks that whatever you have inside that box is supposed to stay inside that box. And so if I'm going to go ahead and duplicate Turner. I'm going to pull it out here. And I could have just re-uploaded it in that one, but so I resaved it. I'm going to re-upload it. And I wonder if that's our, we have a big delivery coming in right today for bamboo heart cutting boards. So we're going to go now load these over into the Glowforge, which is actually in the other room. And I am going to try to speak really loud so that you can hear me through the Wise Cam that's over there. Okay, so I've put the utensils in, and I used the honeycomb pins to pin them down. And now I can select my material by doing our set focus tool and just setting it on there. But for utensils, what I've found is I just go to use uncertified material and then do 0.49 as my manual thickness. So I've put that in there. Because each of the utensils it varies. We don't know how, they're all going to be a little bit different thickness. It's natural material. It's all going to be a little bit different on the width. And so some of them are actually a little bit, or right at 0.5, and some of them are at like 0.505, and some of them are at 0.48. And so It just kind of varies. And so that will affect your engrave a little bit, but not to the point that I'm really worried about. For settings, I just do full power, or sometimes I'll do 100 power. So it doesn't really, that extra bit of 5 watts doesn't make too much of a difference. And I will use 270 in my LPI for bamboo and just 1,000 speed. If you have a basic or a plus machine, well, it actually just depends. If you have an older plus, then it's 45 watts, but if you have a newer plus, then it's 40 watts. So if you just use that 100 power, that's equivalent to what your machine is going to do. So then I can position it. At this point, you need to decide, do you want your words going up the handle or down the handle? And so I had put this extra turner outside the box, which now that I think about it is actually a good demonstration. I should have done it up here. So I can't pull these words apart because they're inside the box. If I had them outside of the box, then I would have been able to move the distinct words and reposition it however I needed to. So now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of put it on. This bounding box here, though, I'm not going to do anything with it. It's just for my benefit for lining up if I really wanted to, or if you have a straighter font. I actually don't use the bounding box. I just wanted to show you a method for how you could go about doing it, and then you can just line up that. And you can turn this on too to some random setting if you wanted it to be a little bit brighter to help you with lining it up. You just have to remember to turn it back off when you do it. So these two are going the direction that I want. So if I'm looking at it and I'm right-handed, then I would be reading it right to left, or left to right. But these other ones are reversed. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hold Shift down while I rotate, and it does it in 45-degree increments. And then I can put it on my utensil, and I can change the size of it or whatever I need to do. And for when you're duplicating in the Glowforge app, you can grab whatever you want to duplicate, and you can do your standard Control-C, Control-V, and that creates a copy that you can use. So again, hold Shift down, flip it around. Oops. Control-Z backs up what you're doing. Make it just a little bit smaller. I don't care what's going on with the box. They can overlap. They can do whatever they want. And now I kind of have them in place for what I want to do. So I've set it. I am going to hit ready. And I'm working on trying to figure out all of the technology that we're using to do these videos. And so I will get, you're probably, you could be getting choppy reception watching the video. It's buffering. So definitely let me know that. But I've watched the videos that have had those error messages happening, and once it's done, it splices it all together and it does its magic. So for these 4 utensils, we have, you're not watching anything that I'm doing. I apologize. So here's the utensils that I just lined up. And let me back up just a bit here. So what I did was I had my design loaded in. Just Control-Z. See, working on the technology. I made the Wise Cam bigger. So what I did was I pinned the utensils around and kind of held them in place a little bit so they don't wobble up and down or back and forth as the laser is moving, because it has a little bit of a vibration to it. And then I will just go ahead and position my design onto the utensil. So I have to decide, if I want it to go left to right or right to left, depending on how you're going to be holding it. And then I put it on. And so one thing that you can do is you can Control C and Control V, that copies your text. And if you hold Shift down while you're rotating, that makes it go in 45-degree increments. And then you can resize accordingly to fit your handle. And these bounding boxes that I created, that's just can be helpful if you're just starting out or you really like using them. You can turn it on to some random setting and then use it to line up with your utensil. If I wanted it to be more down here, what have you. So it's totally up to you, but just make sure that you turn off that bounding box because we don't want to laser it onto our utensil. So I have my different designs, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit print. What direction do you put it for right-handed people? I make it so that when let's just pretend that this is the utensil here with the spoon here. So if I'm engraving on the back or the front, it doesn't matter. This utensil is on the left-hand side and the handle is on the right-hand side. I'm right-handed, and so I'm going to put it so that I licked it so it's mine, reading from left to right, just as if, so when you're holding it, you can read it. Something to consider that I didn't bring up before was if you are, you have to decide, and I've started asking my clients now if they want it to be engraved on the front or the back. So the front would be, I'm using my utensil. It's got the scoop right here, so I'm stirring my pot of soup, so I'm always seeing what's on the engrave if it's on the front. If it's on the back, I'm not seeing it, but some people hang their utensils and hang it so that it's got the back showing. And so if they had like family name or some kind of inspirational saying on the back of their utensil, then they'll want it on the back. So I was doing all back for a long time until a customer asked me at an event if I always engraved on the back, and then so we talked about why you would want it that way. So now I ask. So this is going to take 7 minutes and 49 seconds. I'm going to pop over and hit go on the Glowforge. I've got my camera going so I can watch it from my office. So I'll be right back. You're probably wondering what I did. Well, I just canceled it really quick right when it started because I heard the machine and my compact filter, I didn't turn it off from the last job that I did. So it actually is venting to the outside, so I don't need to have that on. So now that I've canceled the job real quick, it's going to refocus and rescan. I will look over here at the questions. Wording is reading down towards the handle. Yes, left to right. So now we're just going to double check everything. Still set at 0.49. Manually, I did not use set focus. And our alignment is where I still want it, and I'm going to hit ready. The reason I double checked is sometimes autofocus, because right now that's what it's doing. It's taking the head over and it's double checking the material height, which I really wish that it wouldn't do, but sometimes it's saved me, I guess, from putting in something that's too thick. But when I tell it what height it is, I want it to believe me and not double check, because sometimes it will override it. See how it just changed the picture of the spoon and kind of scanned in more? That's because it said, oh, your height really is this, based on that one point that it checked on, which is really frustrating. So I will make sure that I double check, because I've done utensils before. I've hit go. I haven't hit the button yet, but if I look at the screen, this will be, off, because it's decided that its focus is a little bit different than what I told it to. So just always double check when you're doing utensils what the screen is showing you before you hit the button. You get to see my stylish workshop sweatshirt here with snowflakes. It's what keeps me warm here next to the big window I've got. I have a question here. Okay. Do you just lay the spoons in the Glowforge? So I did. I kept the crumb tray in, and I just laid them on, deciding if I wanted to engrave on the front or the back of the spoon. I alternated them so that the utensils are, so their handles are all right next to each other, which means I have to pay attention to which way I'm engraving. So, and then I pinned it down with utensils, or with these honeycomb pins. So this one right here is pinned down. It's actually on top of the utensil and holding it down. This one is just on the edge. This one is just holding it in and pinning it side to side. This one is actually holding it down a little bit on the edge, and these two are just pinning them side to side. So I kind of compressed it to keep it all together. Another thing to note, I mentioned that you have to pay attention when you're doing the alternating handles like this, if you're going to be doing right-handed or left-handed people or directions, and then you have to flip accordingly. So these two right here are going the right direction if you're right-handed. This one down here is not going the correct direction for a right-handed person. It's going the correct direction for a left-handed person. So you don't really typically know what your customers are wanting, but if you had someone that said, hey, make sure it's for a left-handed person, then you know that you want to make sure that, you just kind of imagine yourself, okay, I'm left-handed, I'm holding my utensil, which direction do I need it to read? I'm probably putting more into this, majority of the population is right-handed, so if you're trying to do it for right-handed people, then you make sure that you flip your design upside down so that it's going the correct direction. So utensils are really actually very fast. They're really economical as far as bang for your buck. I mentioned earlier how much I charge for them. And so profit margin is pretty good. And they last pretty long. I had a customer actually reach out this morning that said that they had ordered a set of utensils from me for Christmas, and they absolutely love them and they use them all the time, but the spoon is splitting, and she knows that that isn't anything that I have any control over, and she just wanted to order just the single spoon outside of the set because it was a themed set. And so I just replied and I said, absolutely no problem. I'll just make you a new one. Don't worry about it. So I'm giving it to her for free because it's only been a couple of months, and that's just the kind of customer service that I want to make sure that I'm delivering. But that's totally up to you. So just be aware of that. Another thing to watch for before you put in your utensils. So I just grabbed these out of my crap bin, pardon the language. Is just making sure there's no chips and stuff on it. Bamboo is a natural product, so it's gonna have variations in color. It's gonna have variations in your engrave. But this one has a whole bunch of dents and stuff all over it. So I just double check my utensils. This one has a nice chip out of it and a chip on the side, and it's just because of transport. And so when I'm giving these to customers, I just want to make sure it's okay. And there was another one here. Oh, this one. This one had a split, so it had chipped off, and I just pulled the splinter right off of it. But I don't want to deliver that product to my customers. Some of the slotted spoons that I have that came over from China, I'm talking hundreds of utensils. There's one that is a slotted flat spatula, and it's actually one of kind of the ones that we have. And so because that's a little bit weaker, I had a couple that had cracked along that. So those are all really handy to use for testing and trying something new. So I'm just going to check in here on the different chats that are open to make sure that I've answered all of the questions that we need to. At this point, it's just, hey, watch it go. I forgot to minimize the camera, so I backed up and recapped what I hadn't covered. So the downside with streaming live is there's no take 1, take 2, take 3, etc. You know, you screw up and you say something wrong, and then you're like, ugh. So then you start over. So when I first started doing these videos, I was doing that and recording on my phone, and then so I had all of these different segments that I had recorded from being in the other room and being in here at the computer and trying to splice them all together. So I had to get them off my phone and onto the computer, which took forever because I uploaded it and then downloaded it I tried different methods. And even like connecting the phone to the computer, it just takes forever to get videos to transfer over. I even tried uploading to YouTube as a private and then downloading it onto the computer. Anyway, then once I got them all onto the computer, I had to load it into the software for making videos, and then I had to splice them together and make sure that it all worked, and then saved that, exported that from the software, which took an hour for it to export an MP4 video of all of it together. And then I had to upload it to YouTube so I could share it. So that then took an hour. So it was taking an insane amount of time to try to deliver these educational videos out for folks so I could help them learn. So I switched over to doing the live stream, which makes it a little bit more challenging because then you see, oh, I forgot to do that. But we all make mistakes, and that's part of making. So our laser is done. I'm gonna go grab them. So here is our utensils. They've got a nice depth to them, and maybe I'll just lay them all out here. And move this camera down here. Maybe can't see it too well, but so they have this nice depth to them. Which is great. I mean, that's the high power, but if you defocus it just a bit when you're doing the lasering, that can make it a little bit darker. And I haven't spent too much time doing that because this comes out pretty well. So like if you go in here and do your focus height, you can play with that setting to try to make it a little bit darker, see what that does. Gives it more of a burnt look. You'll see I didn't bother masking these. It has this flare around it and it's a little sticky. So I just go over to the sink and grab a washcloth and just wipe it off. As these are used, that darkness will start to fade, but it should take a long time. I guess it just depends on how they're washing them. Like I said earlier in the video, bamboo utensils are not supposed to go in the dishwasher, but we exclusively wash ours in the dishwasher all the time, daily. And so over the years, like I have one downstairs, the engrave is still there, but the darkness isn't there anymore because it's like 3 years old from when we engraved it, and it's gone through hundreds of dishwashers, loads. So here's the I licked it, it's mine. And the beauty of that cursive font is you don't really have to worry too much about making sure it's lined up with top and bottom. You can tell if you have it really off skew, but for the most part, people don't really care if it's just off by a little bit and you can't really tell. So there we have our bamboo utensils. You wipe it down with a little bit of water. Something that you should consider before you're delivering to your client is giving it a good coating of mineral oil and letting it soak in for a little bit, especially around where you've engraved it, because that engraving, it's a high power heat, it's pulling the moisture out of the grass, out of the bamboo, and so we want to try to return some of that moisture into it, and that will help with any cracking and stuff that can happen. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ping me, either on the YouTube channel or on Facebook where I've posted these. I'm going to switch over here to my live chat. How long have I been glowing? I love that phrase. Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to have to start using it. I have been a full-time Glowforger I've been a full-time glower for almost a year now. I quit my full-time job back at the end of February in 2019 for a lot of reasons and had to do a complete career move. We had already had a Glowforge. My husband backed Glowforge back when the Kickstarter started, and so was one of the early backers and was really involved in the forum and helping them. And we even went to a maker fair to help with one of the demonstrations. And so that's when I first started getting involved with Glowforge. And so we had his machine at work that he would use for his physics demonstrations, and alongside the home-built one that he had his students create. And then we had, then when he switched jobs, we ordered one for our house. And then when it came time for me to reevaluate my life, then I started glowing a lot more, which ironically is very true because I became much healthier and happier. So I Glowforge full-time now when my body and life allow me to, and it's definitely been a really great journey. Learning lots. So I would say don't ever give up. Reach out to folks. Even if you don't have a Glowforge, like there are so many lasers out there, and so this is just how you would do it with the Glowforge, but it's applicable across multiple machines. So ciao, thanks for tuning in. I'll have some more here coming up. We got some brick coming, and a couple of bamboo hearts I think we're going to be doing, bamboo heart cutting boards later.